and welcome to our Webgains Transform series of talks through 2021. Today we're going to hear from Mumtaz, our Global Head of Strategic Growth. She's worked to build brands throughout her career in the advertising and marketing industries, and she now leads a top-flight international services team here at Webgains that has won no less than 6 PMAs over the last couple of years and an IPMA. Mumtaz's proven experience benefits from spanning across agency side, network side, and client side, and she now has responsibility for our key global accounts. Throughout the Transform series, Mumtaz has been speaking to various members of our global team, who I will now leave Mumtaz to introduce. Thank you.
Hello everyone, thank you very much for joining us today for our third session in our sort of Q4 roundup series to see how different regions in the world, how they experienced Q4 in what was a crazy year of 2020. And with us today we're going to cover the US, and with me today is a very dear and valuable partner of Webgains, Liz Curtis, one of the co-founders of Team B in the good old USFA, and Liz has been in the affiliate world for about 20 years, I think, or well, basically quite a while, and has lots of experience working at some, large companies in the past as well. And we're very fortunate to be working with her. Hello, Liz. Welcome.
Hi, Mumtaz. Thank you. It's so great to be here. I always love being able to talk to you.
Great, Liz. Thank you. So I'm going to dive into the questions now. So the first one was, what are the interesting strategies that you noticed from US retailers in the peak period just gone?
Well, interesting is such a loaded word, mostly when we're talking about 2020. You mentioned that, 2020 was definitely, as we all know, a very unique year, and had us shifting and getting scrappy in ways that I don't think we thought we would. But I would say one of the most interesting strategies we saw during that Black Friday, Cyber Week timeframe was really just retailers starting way earlier than before. And I know that seems kind of like a generic answer, because I think every year we see Cyber Week or Black Friday deals happening sooner and sooner and sooner. But this year it meant something different. There was, the consumer was anxious. There was a lot of anxiety around shopping, getting things on time for Christmas. I even personally had this fear that my children would wake up Christmas morning without any presents under the tree. And I know I wasn't alone there. So we saw Black Friday deals and Black Friday offers happening the week before Black Friday. So technically that was Friday, November 20th. And of course, the retailers were doing this to gain market share and get there before anyone else was. But it was also just due to pure logistics. Shipping was a serious concern. Like I mentioned, my kids had presents in time, so mom of the year over here. But I think that, again, it was just more from getting ahead from logistics and shipping, and again, gaining that attention and market share from that anxious consumer, which was fascinating. And then another strategy we saw from retailers, really, that just, I feel like it grew overnight, was their communication strategies, from texting, push notifications, things along those lines. There was a lot of over communication about deliveries, shipments, when it would arrive, to give that consumer a good shopping experience, which I think really is something that people appreciated and will remember, and drive that brand loyalty for these retailers.
That sounds really interesting. I think it over here we saw the same thing as well. They just keep starting earlier every year. But I think you mentioned also, did you mention to me before that the US retailers were also doing a lot more with gift cards as well? They were pushing gift cards a lot, yeah?
Yeah, so that really happened due to that shipping cutoff. I think 2019, if you're a procrastinator like I used to be, I think, you could buy something and pay some overnight shipping and get it in time for the holidays. It was closer to the end of December, closer to that date. But shipping cutoffs were just way earlier this year. And so a lot of our just brands that we saw, they were really pushing gift cards. They were promoting gift cards because of those shipping logistics. And it was successful. And I kind of think, I don't know if that's going to go away. We have Valentine's Day around the corner, and those shipping cutoffs are still there. And I don't think that's on anyone's radar. So I kind of see I see another gift card push happening.
Yeah, I absolutely. And I just think it just makes life so much easier, isn't it? When it comes to even making the gift decision process so much easier. Oh, I'm not sure what to get for this person. I'm just going to get them a gift card, basically.
I know it used to seem like it was not as thoughtful, but now, yeah, I think it's almost allowed.
Yeah, exactly. It's allowed. Yeah, because we don't know, like, like we don't want to make sure you got a present, with COVID, upsetting logistics. We just want to be sure. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, great. And then the next question is, did you notice? Did you spot any eye-catching campaigns that would have made you buy from a brand for the first time? Like, did you see anyone do something and you thought, I've never bought from this brand before, I've not heard of this brand before, but that's so smart. I might, if I was in the market for this, I would buy from them.
I love that. I love that question. And I think there's always a couple out there that, like, it's so, in a way, it's fun during Cyber Week because you're kind of like, what are we going to see? You never know, because people get creative. But one of the most eye-catching campaigns, there were definitely several, but my favorite that I saw during the holiday season was from Allbirds, which is a emerging, shoe brand here in the US. And what they did is, there's always brands that will have a statement about maybe not being promotional, or they don't want to have huge discounts during this time frame for whatever reason. Well, Allbirds, they kind of switched it. So they actually raised their prices during Black Friday.
Wow.
Instead of offering any type of deals or promotions. But the cool thing about this, I think it's genius. They raised everything on their site by $1, and for every purchase, they would match that dollar. And it was for a charity of, I think it was around climate change and climate control. And so it was just a great charity movement. So such a bold thing to do, to actually raise your prices.
So smart. So smart.
But everyone was kind of floored by it. Everyone was talking about it. It received a lot of press and attention. And I thought it was a really cool way to, if you don't want to be promotional, every brand, it's their choice, but they have a charity they believe in, and they took a stand, and it was cool. Yeah, it was really cool to see. Yeah.
Good for them. Yeah. I mean, we saw in Germany, we saw one of the Webgains clients, Live Fast Die Young. We saw them do something I thought was pretty brave as well. They actually shut their website. They stopped taking orders the 3 days before Black Friday, and then reopened it again on Black Friday.
Wow. So what was their reasoning behind shutting down this site?
I guess just to drum up more attention and interest, I guess. And then they opened on Black Friday morning with, I don't know, up to 60% off, I think. So
okay.
Maybe.
There were that's really cool. There were a couple of brands that shut down their site, or they said we're not, you can't go spend time with your family, or we're not running promotions, which still is interesting and caught people's eye, but no one did what Allbirds did. And everyone was like, I wish I would have thought of that.
Everyone's so scared. Everyone thinks that if they don't do something, then they're going to lose customers, or they're going to lose business. And they probably don't realize that maybe customers are a little bit more elastic, a little bit more price elastic than they probably expected. Everyone loves a deal, but at the same time, people can see through it, I guess, as well, can't they?
Yeah, they totally can. And something we're seeing too in the US is just based off of the generation and what people want out of a brand they shop from. They want to be aligned morally. They want to have the same values. And I think the younger, way younger than me, obviously, being in this industry for so long, but when they are shopping and they really gravitate to a brand that's willing to make a statement or stand for something, and they want to make sure they're aligned with the values there. So I think it can work if it's positioned properly. Yeah,
absolutely. This the activist generation, isn't it? Gen Z.
it is. Well, and another really cool thing,
Yeah.
though, we saw from a campaign standpoint, and I don't know if this is necessarily a specific campaign, but overall is just the growth, the insane growth from gift guides in the US. From that editorial piece, a lot of brands, of course they want to be in a top 10 gifts for your stepbrother that lives in Florida. I mean, they can get that specific, it seems. But we saw partners and editors push out like 200% more gift guides this season because they're seeing so much growth and success. And editors were publishing many of the gift guides 6 weeks before Black Friday. So that was interesting because it's speaking to the consumers and it's working. Yeah.
Wow, it's so interesting. I love hearing about what's going on the other side of the pond, as we say, basically. um, and then, did you notice any retailers that were taking part for the first time in this Black Friday period? And anyone especially unusual that you would not expect?
Mm-hmm. I love this question too. And this is another fun thing to watch for during Black Friday, Cyber Week, those peak times, because so many brands are promotional. They're offering, even if they're not promotional during the year, during Black Friday, they're going to have something. It's very rare for a brand to say, we are not promotional, we're not doing anything during this time. So when they do make that stand, people notice. So we know which brands are not going to have anything. We also notice when they cave and offer a promotion for the first year time. It's a double-edged sword. So that's tricky. So one that so it's always like, okay, who caved this year? And it doesn't always have to be a bad thing, but Everlane is one brand that I guess caved, which might sound like a negative phrase, but they had their first Black Friday sale ever, and it was up to 40% off on their site. But they didn't just have their first sale, they were everywhere. So there was a lot of placements and advertising around Everlane, and with our publisher partners, a lot of presence there as well. So they went big. So wow. They not just had their first Black Friday sale, they went all in, which was kind of fascinating because they've never done that ever. And they've been pretty bold about it too.
Wow, amazing. So if you can't beat them, join them. So they probably just thought, we're going to join in the party. We haven't come to this party before, but we're going to join in and we're going to really go for it.
I know. Well, I mean, I guess it's kind of I think a brand has to do what's right for them. And I always respect brands either way, if whatever they're deciding to do. I think as long as it's aligned with their brand identity and who they are, that's great. So, but yeah, join the party. Just why not? They went all in.
Yeah. Good for them, and they went big. They went all in and they went big. It's great. That's I hope that they, the sales. It sounds like they would have received a lot of sales and hopefully new customers as well. Probably with lowering the entry cost of buying from them, I guess.
We saw some huge sales and huge deals too from Glacier, which was really interesting too. Yeah. They were everywhere and really they went big, which was unexpected. I don't think people had expected that to happen from Glacier.
No, nice, excellent.
I know.
And then also talking about Amazon now. What was the impact on some of the smaller retailers from the likes of Amazon, would you say? Because obviously Amazon is such a behemoth and just dominates everything. And obviously some people credit them with starting the whole thing with Prime Day. But how did some of the smaller retailers cope, do you think, with Amazon just getting larger and larger and larger?
Yeah. Amazon, it's such a, it is such a beast, right? And 2020 was no exception, mostly because of the roller coaster of Amazon Prime Day that it took everybody on. And you know, obviously the years past, it had been in the summertime, which it's still a newer holiday. You know, in this industry, we have made up holidays that create something. And so, but this year, obviously, with it being pushed because of COVID, and there was so much drama or just rumors around when is Amazon Prime Day? Is it happening? Is it not happening? When is it happening? And of course, it happened in October, and it really kicked off the holiday shopping season this year, as we all know. But on the flip side, you know, there were larger department stores and retailers that we're trying to compete with that Amazon Prime Day timeframe with, you know, competing offers. And then there were smaller brands that had competing offers as well, trying to compete, and both just didn't succeed. So Amazon just kind of took over during that time frame, and it was what it was. And but for smaller brands, you know, during the peak time frame of the holiday season in 2020, just overall, and what we saw in just kind of the reports that we are involved in, they saw tremendous growth. So they are growing, they're doing very, very well. They are being creative with their positioning, like, you know, with Allbirds and the charity play that they had. They're speaking to their audience with that generation pool and making sure that they're aligned with their audience and their consumer and their values, which I think is very smart. And it's something that Amazon has a harder time doing. Those smaller brands, they're still growing, so they're not seeing too much of a negative impact. I think, and this might not be a popular opinion, but I think if anything, those department stores and larger ones are having the tougher time competing really with Amazon. But again, we'll see where Amazon takes us this year. I think I could eat my words, but those emerging brands and I think DTC brands, they had a great holiday season overall. They saw a lot of success, which was really exciting. And I think at least, you know, a lot of people here were rooting for them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think definitely over here as well, there's a lot of rooting for like local businesses and smaller businesses as well. And I think I agree with you that probably it was the larger retailers that maybe felt the impact more of Amazon because, you know, especially the department stores and the grocery stores, right? Because the supermarkets, as we call them, because, yeah, I mean, you know, what are their USPs really? Whereas a smaller retailer may have more niche products, and as you say, you know, able to align more openly, more closely with the communities, with the local communities as well. But that's really interesting.
I think if anything, where Amazon really is, you know, they just during the shopping peak too for holiday. I mean, one area that did get a little tough for people to compete with was just their shipping time frame and their logistics. You know, it's just, they were able to just get things out sooner. So for the ones for those anxious consumers that didn't shop early, like a lot of people, I think that's where Amazon was able to kind of pick up a lot of the pieces.
Lifesaver. Yeah, it's a lifesavers. Yeah, so yeah.
Like you order something and it could be at my door right now if I ordered it. You're at times like, this is that normal? Like, what is that?
Yeah, I think that's amazing. Yeah, I think, I mean, as you say, it is a bit of a lifesaver when you're up against it, and as long as it's not something totally unique, and it's fairly generic, then why not? And it sounds like, from what you've said, it sounds like there's space for everyone at the party, right? You know, even the small guys, there's space for everyone still.
100%. I totally believe that. And you never know what the next generation of consumers is going to bring to the table. I think this, you know, the Gen Z has been very unique, or you mentioned like this generation of activists. I mean, that's something I don't think a lot of us would have predicted. So I definitely believe there's room for everybody, and Amazon is something I think, as everyone should. I mean, keeping your eye out on them and their trends and watching them and learning. But it's positioning yourself as a brand to just trying to compete with Amazon. I think you're going to dig yourself in a hole in a way.
I think so. Yeah. I think you're right. I mean, they have years of experience as well, so trying to play catch up with that is going to be a bit difficult, isn't it? And then I'm going to move on to the last question now. So did people appear to spend more or less than last year? What was the general feeling across the industry in the US? Like when you talk to your colleagues, when you talk to industry friends, or even when you talk to your family and your personal friends, did you get a feeling that people were spending more or less?
Definitely spending more. People were shopping. Consumers had the money. They were going to be buying no matter what. It was more of like, I think retailers were like, how can we get that share of wallet before anyone else can? And because I think the concern was that maybe they wouldn't have as much additional to purchase. But overall, I mean, it was, the vibe from Cyber Week, that Thanksgiving through Cyber Monday it was good, but it wasn't great. It wasn't, no one had this, no one was wowed. No one was floored by the results of what they saw, which is very fascinating to me because for a couple of reasons. I think just obviously with October and Amazon Prime, I think Cyber Week and holiday shopping just started way earlier. Black Friday deals were happening a week before. Just everything was being pushed earlier and earlier, and which again, in the past, it has been that way for a while, but the consumer was so anxious in 2020 that they purchased. And so the peakiness of Black Friday, from the past, maybe sales are kind of like here and all of a sudden they just skyrocket and everyone's like, wow, these past 5 days have been insane. The internet's breaking. That wow factor wasn't there. But
it bottomed out.
Yeah, but the sales were
spread out.
Exactly. It was just more spread out. But it's interesting because Salesforce reported US sales were 61 billion and grew 29% year over year during Cyber Week. And no one was wowed. But maybe we should take a moment and be like, 61 billion is a tremendous amount of money. That was additional, and it grew 29% year over year.
It's amazing growth.
It's definitely there. People were shopping, and I think people just wanted a great wow factor story. But instead of it being peaky, the sales just were kind of steady as they are, which was interesting. And then a higher growth rate definitely the week before Black Friday.
Yeah, and maybe people spent because they had nothing else to spend their money on. Maybe they spent their money on more expensive items, which maybe pushed the revenue amount up. But
Absolutely.
That's why you didn't feel like it was exponentially that many more orders. It was maybe people spending a lot more per order as well. Yeah. And maybe it was also maybe new categories as well. So maybe Salesforce were counting new categories like new sectors, or maybe they were counting things like even buying broadband. Maybe they counted that as a purchase.
Absolutely. And something else that was kind of, which I've never seen before either, that Black Friday sales, I mean, they were they were great, but Cyber Monday was definitely like kind of lackluster. There weren't that many new promotions out there on Cyber Monday. Sales weren't higher than, I think it was just kind of like, meh for Cyber Monday, which I didn't expect that. But maybe it had to do with something, Cyber Monday really, the point of Cyber Monday and how it came about was everyone had shopped or maybe didn't shop during the holiday weekend, and you get back to work on Monday, and that's when you're going to do all the online shopping. And now no one's going back to the office really. Everyone's just Zooming it all the time. So the days just kind of running like no one knew it was Cyber Monday.
Yeah, it blends.
It blends. So it lost a little bit of its power in a way, but I mean the sales were still there and it definitely grew. And you're right about the new categories. I think that's interesting about some categories that definitely saw a huge increase that weren't popular in the years before, but everything has changed. Everything changed in 2020, and I'm really curious to see how, even when it's a post-COVID life, how some of those things and those trends, how they continue on even after. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
What about, yeah, what from your side? Were people wowed during Black Friday, or I mean, was it kind of the same?
I know what you mean, because I think every, you know, all the sort of industry sort of trade press say it grew by this and this and this, and you know, certainly on Webgains we saw massive performance as well, massive performance. But when you speak to like customers or like consumers, you speak to your friends and family, it seems like it was the same amount but just spread out basically. So and people are still spending despite the challenges, which, you know, I mean, some people have had a didn't have such a great time last year. Some people, you know, were, we call it furloughed, you know, lost their jobs, or were told to sort of stay at home and were paid a stipend by the government and by their employers. So people still managed to spend money considering, and yes, the industry still grew. So which is amazing considering, wow, what a year it was. Hey, what a year.
What a year. And I wanted to take time at the end of the year last year, even with all the conversations that, you know, that we had, or that I had with some of our clients or different partners, and just to take a moment to be like proud of yourself for accomplishing everything, and as scrappy as everyone got during the year. And this industry is definitely scrappy, which I think people can wear with pride. So I'd say, like, from a wow factor of during Black Friday, and like, you know, I had mentioned, I think it's also okay to be wowed by the growth that and the actual money that was coming through and what brands were doing. It was impressive. But yeah, definitely spending was there. That did not change, and it will continue to probably grow in 2021, right?
Yeah, probably. And I think we're already seeing you know, the trade press saying online sales continuing to grow, you know, because we're still not really back to normal. No, you know, no country's really back to normal still. So I think while that's happening, you know, online sales will still keep going. And you know, even with the stores that are open, you know, you're being encouraged to shop online where possible, and not go to the stores to maintain social distance. So yeah, I mean, whether it's Amazon or Walmart or a small retailer, I'm sure, you know, they'll just sort of keep continuing to benefit, but in the right possible way, obviously, as well.
Yeah, the expectation now of the consumer, we should be able to get everything now, and we shouldn't have to go anywhere to get anything.
Yeah, don't want to leave my house. I'm too scared. Yeah.
And I want a gift guide to tell me what I'm supposed to buy. So yeah, it's the consumer is getting more and more demanding in a way, but the retailers, the brands, you know, they are impressive in figuring it out. So it's cool to witness. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, look, it was so lovely talking to you, Liz, and thank you so much for such amazing insights. I always enjoy hearing about what is going on over there, and you know, congrats again on moving into your new home. I understand you moved from Chicago to Texas, so hope you're settling in well. And I will speak to you soon. And thank you very much to the audience for joining us today as well. Thank you, and stay safe. And
thank
goodbye.
You so much. Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.